Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Green Lantern HBO Max series. So HBO Max has launched finally in the United States over this week to a fairly positive response from what I can tell. It's only been out for about a day or two from when I'm recording this video. Unfortunately, I live in Australia, so I don't get the proper experience of it, which is the same for everyone else around the globe, obviously outside of the United States. Even though we could use a VPN, which I do for other services, with HBO Max you want to sort of experience it on your big TV, not your computer screen. Lucky for me, there is an alternative which launched in Australia in the same week, which hopefully has all the HBO Max content over the next few months. It was advertised to do so, but we'll have to wait and see if they pull through with that. If you're in Australia, didn't know about it, it's called Binge. Look it up. One of the big series in the works for HBO Max, which seems it is coming next year at some point, I'd guess later in the year next year, is the Green Lantern series, which was announced at the initial, first HBO Max presentation thing where they also revealed the Strange Adventures show for HBO Max, filling out more original DC Comics content for the service, as well as all the other stuff they have planned. I guess for the first year and a half of them running. Now, not much has really been said about the show since that initial announcement, but I guess you can't really say much until it actually starts production or gets really close to it, and you get casting information and all of that. So I don't think there's too much to be worried about there, so don't get worried that there hasn't been too much out there. We knew, thanks to HBO Max representatives, that the Green Lantern show would span several decades, focusing on 2 stories about Green Lanterns on Earth, as well as a plot thread based in space going into the Sinestro story. So Sinestro was the only confirmed character at that point, but Kevin Riley from HBO Max was asked a question involving Green Lantern, and here was his response. Can you tease what people can expect from DC Max originals? Can people expect movie-like budgets? Greg Berlanti, who is producing a Green Lantern series for Max, has done a lot of really quality DC fare for the CW. These will not be that. These will be the next step up in production value. You can expect the highest level of cinematic production values on those shows, and that's the same for the projects we've announced with J.J. Abrams. Now, I think it was said that this Green Lantern TV show or series for HBO Max was going to have a $100 million budget. That was the thing said there. I don't know if that's confirmed, but that sounds about the ballpark. Maybe like 100 to 120 sounds about right. I think for all the Disney Plus Marvel shows, they're given around 100. I don't know what The Mandalorian was on, and if anything, The Mandalorian budget's probably the best one to go along with in regards to what Green Lantern will do. In regards to this, they probably should have compared the DC Universe shows to the HBO Max stuff, as it is modeled in the same way, but I guess the CW is the more popular and known property, especially in regards to Greg Berlanti's name and stuff like that and career, so that's probably why, but he's also involved with the DC Universe shows, so they should have brought that up, but I don't know why they ignored that anyway. Now, over the past, I think this came out a couple of weeks ago, but I've been holding off until there was any sort of announcements after HBO Max launched, and there was nothing outside of that question there. But there was like a rumored storyline for the series to come out. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt, but it is always interesting to go over these, as they do end up being true, or mostly true, a decent amount of the time. I wouldn't say over 50%, but a decent amount of the time, most or all of it ends up being true. But as I said, take it with a grain of salt, if not the biggest grain of salt possible, which isn't too big. But we will go over it, and I will just give my thoughts at certain points if needed, especially if I need to explain what a certain thing is, just in case you didn't know. But of course, throughout the video, it would be awesome if you could let me know your various opinions in the comment section down below. Are you looking forward to this Green Lantern show? As I said, nothing's out there outside of like a poster that isn't even out there in good quality, and the fact that Sinestro is going to be in it, and some other little questionnaires that don't really reveal too much. But if you're excited for it, let me know in the comment section down below, as well as what you'd want to see in the show. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you're looking forward to this, why not drop a like on it to show your support and excitement. So the series will be set in the same continuity as the Green Lantern core movie. Now, of course, though we had connections to the shows and movies in Crisis on Infinite Earths when the two Flashes interacted, obviously Ezra Miller's Flash and Grant Gustin's Flash, this would be the first film and TV connection based, I guess, off the same area or Earth in the multiverse, if that makes sense. Now, Krypton, that show that was on Sci-Fi that was cancelled after 2 seasons, was originally going to be that. I think it was meant to be like literally a prequel to Man of Steel, but that was scrapped at some point in development. I'm not too sure why, because I think the guy that wrote Man of Steel was still attached to that show, but they scrapped that, maybe because they didn't want to, in regards to continuity, mess it up, so they moved on from that. That would have been the first, but now this is going to be the first by the sounds of it, which I guess makes sense. But yeah. Now, Season 1 is expected to be released in late 2021 or early 2022, and will follow 2 timelines and lean heavily into the mythology that Jeff Johns created in the comics. Now, personally, I think they would probably try to be pushing for late 2021, maybe an October release date, maybe November at the latest, but I guess in October is a good time to premiere a show, even if it is on streaming. So I could see them going for that. Now, Jeff Johns' Mad Ghost Productions is affiliated with the show. If you go to the website, it's on there that says like he's involved with the show. So there's no surprise there if his mythology and lore is being used that he's attached to it. Now, Jeff is killing it at the moment with Stargirl. First 2 episodes are out. If you haven't watched that, I definitely suggest giving it a watch. At least the first 2 episodes, give it a go. If it's not for you, fair enough, but definitely give it a try. Don't sit on it, or don't sleep on it, might I say. So I'm excited to see that he's involved with this as well. I know some people don't like his take on Green Lantern, but I pretty much enjoy all of Jeff Johns' stuff, so I'm excited to see him involved. Now, the past timeline will focus on Abin Sur and Sinestro as Green Lanterns and set up the events that led to Abin Sur's death and Sinestro's downfall. So there's no real surprise here, as we knew that Sinestro was involved, and the space story would lead into his specific story and arc. Feeling a bit yellow there, Sinestro. But Abin Sur at first here caught me off guard. I was like, hold on, what's going on here? Before I realized it was the past timeline. So it would be cool if we saw his final moments, which led to Hal Jordan being chosen, everything like that. So I'm actually sort of interested to see what his arc would be in Abin Sur and Sinestro working together. The present timeline will focus on Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz being recruited into the Green Lantern Corps and having to learn to work together. Now, Jessica Cruz was a character I don't want to say I was like, she's definitely going to be in it. If she's not in it, then that's terrible. Like, I wasn't saying that, but I was fairly certain that they would pick her for the show and she would be one of the lanterns that they used, because they said that there was going to be, 2 lanterns in the present timeline, and one was going to be younger, which Jessica Cruz definitely falls into. And also her, picking Jessica adds diversity in a couple of areas, but they can also have some focus on her backstory, which would provide some good dramatic elements, in my opinion. If you know her backstory, then you know it would work pretty well. And also just what she's dealing with, as she is a Green Lantern as well. Not just before, but when she, first becomes a Green Lantern as well. I think that's interesting storytelling potential. Simon Baz, they work together in the comics, so I think that works as well. Especially even his backstory, I think is fairly interesting as well, and what happens to him and where he is when he becomes a Green Lantern. I think that would work well as well. I think Jessica Cruz is the one I'm more drawn towards, but I'm still interested to see what they could do with Simon Baz. I wonder if they'd make it even in regards to, storytelling and stuff, or if they'd lean more on the other. I think Jessica Cruz has more potential, but Simon Baz definitely has potential there as well. Hal Jordan and John Stewart won't appear but be referenced, as their story will be told in the Green Lantern Corps movie. They will be part of the Honor Guard, hence Simon and Jessica being the quote-unquote beat cops of Sector 2814. I think John Stewart... I think you're more thinking about Hal Jordan because Abin Sur is going to be there, so you think that might be like a cameo, which they could still do if they wanted to do that. Or maybe you just see someone pick up the ring and it's like you just in a flight jacket or something like that. And just maybe you see like Jordan on it or something like that, and it's okay, well, Hal Jordan's picked up the ring, so that's all you need. You don't even have to see the person's face. But yeah, I think focusing on Simon and Jessica and not having like Hal and John there, I think is the best thing. Because you already got too much going on already with Sinestro and Abin Sur, so just focus on Simon and Jessica and just have the other ones in the background, just have them referenced. The plan is for Season 2 to connect directly with the Green Lantern Corps movie by having the past timeline show young Hal's training under Sinestro, while the movie will show older Hal training John. So they're saying here that the movies will end up connecting in Season 2 and they will appear, or they'll have different actors than the movie. I think that'd be the same. I have to wait and see. But this was actually the part that made me raise an eyebrow a bit, because, and I don't want, and sort of lose some thoughts of this being close to legitimate, as usually speaking of like a future season or season story seems too far ahead to the point where it will be known by people, especially when Season 1 itself is still over a year away, even if in some cases it could be close to 2 years away. So that made me go, not too sure that's legit or not, but I don't know. As I said, we're taking this with a grain of salt anyway. Kilowog, Tomare, Katmatui, and Salak will be featured as the Green Lantern Corps trainers. Jessica and Simon's fellow recruits will include Boudica, Lyra, Stell, Green Man, Vath San, and Isamot Cole. And the Guardians will also appear. I'm not surprised that the Guardians will be there. It'd be sort of weird if they weren't, especially with what's coming up soon. Now, the CGI for all of this will be interesting, but I love me some Kilowog. But can we please get some Chip, please? Need the Green Lantern Squirrel. Bring him in, maybe a cameo, just anything, bring him in. The Manhunters will be the villains, or the main villains, sorry, of Season 1. So I'm assuming there'll be villains throughout the series, but the Manhunters will be the main villains for Season 1. Now, if you didn't know, the Manhunters were like I guess you call it like the first type of group that the Guardians of the Universe put together. They're like the first space cops, if you want to call it, but they went rogue due to just being obsessed of, well, manhunting. So this is a pretty cool villain to have included in season 1 if true. It would be interesting to see if they are seen across all time periods or just the present day specifically. Maybe you see the origins or the backstory in the past, and then like the present day they show up and go, "Hello, we're here." But I like the idea of them being included, especially if you have all these recruits and trainers there. So you can see Jessica and Simon also with all these new recruits, and they team up and face the Manhunters. Could be very cool. Sounds costly as hell, but very cool. And finally, there are talks about introducing Guy Gardner in season 2. Personally, I don't mind Guy Gardner. I definitely don't love him. I prefer like Kyle Rayner. If I was going to pick another one, I think he would have been a better inclusion in my opinion. But maybe the story works for Guy Gardner. Maybe season 2, that's where, oh no, that is season 2 where Guy Gardner would come in. So maybe Kyle Rayner could be further down the track. Who knows? I can deal with Guy though. I'm not a Guy hater. So yeah. Now casting is apparently already underway, which I guess they'd want to start filming because this is going to be a long process in my opinion, just looking at it and just what they're going to do. So it could be a long post-production. So they probably would want to start getting actors on board and stuff. But apparently they're looking for Middle Eastern males from 25 to 35 for Simon, which makes sense. Hispanic females 21 to 29 for Jessica, once again makes sense. And they do want an A-lister for Sinestro because he's the one that will definitely alternate between the series and the movies. So one name that has been floated is that of Jude Law. And I could see Jude Law as Sinestro. Like I'd love to have Mark Strong back as Sinestro because I think he was definitely the highlight of that Green Lantern movie back in like what was it, 2011? I think it was. I don't know when that came out back then, whenever it was. 2012, whatever it was, whenever Green Lantern came out. I think Mark Strong was definitely the highlight, if not the best thing about it. But he's also Dr. Savannah, so he kind of can play two roles. So I can deal with Jude Law. I think he'd be a good one. But it would be a bit weird because there's already the similarities between like people bring out the similarities like Captain Marvel and Green Lantern Corps and stuff like that. And Jude Law was in Captain Marvel. So anyway. But in regards to the show as a whole, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just interested to see how they make this show as a series. It has a big budget, but just how they structure it for a series, I'm just intrigued by. And I love the fact that they are bringing these new characters in, like Jessica Cruz specifically, and also Simon Baz, and just exploring more of the Green Lantern Corps. I think Green Lantern is, not just as a character, but just as that section of the universe is so underrated. And I just love people to see more of it. So I can't wait for it to come out and just people get a taste of it and for them to dive deeper into it. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it. It shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over. Do you think this sounds not only legitimate, but do you think it sounds interesting as well? That's what I'm intrigued by. Yeah, let me know all your various opinions down there in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.